Okay, so I find this week's episode to be more enjoyable than I initially thought, but I also wanted to mention that they left out a lot of information, specifically regarding why these people wanted the breach deed. Okay, so in this week's episode, we find out that the villager that betrayed Kitty and Greenbanks was the person behind it all. Okay, he was the one that hired these shinobi, who we later found out are ex-shinobi. So in reality, they're not really trying to help this guy out because he hired them, but basically they wanted to kind of do their own thing. They wanted to kind of create their own havoc. Now, with that being said, this villager that hired the shinobi gets killed right in front of Konohamaru. Konohamaru witnesses it. And the deal is, you know, they give the breach deed to the shinobi and they will give Kitty back to them, okay? So, obviously, what ends up happening is that these bandit shinobis end up actually betraying that is changed. They actually try to kill Konohamaru and the rest of Team 7. Now, here's the thing, though. Team 7, meaning Boruto, Mitsuki, and Sarada, go with Kitty ahead while Konohamaru fights the leader of the shinobis, right? The leader of the two. Because there's two shinobis, one with the long hair, the other one's the guy that fought Boruto on the last week's episode. And essentially, Konohamaru fights the guy with the long hair. The other one goes to try to chase down Team 7. And that's how everything gets kind of put against each other. Konohamaru gets kind of trapped in this weird jutsu that this guy has, and ends up doing, actually he ends up having a really nice moment, because this guy is telling him that, like, oh, the Leaf Shinobi are soft, they're pushovers, and Konohamaru essentially goes ham. Now, Konohamaru doesn't kill this guy. Konohamaru uses the Rasengan to escape this trap, and he has this really great moment. It almost reminded me of One Punch Man. If you guys watched One Punch Man, where Genos and Saitama fought against each other, and Saitama did this punch that like destroyed a mountain behind Genos. That's essentially what happened on this week's episode of Boruto, where Konohamaru didn't really hit him with the Rasengan, but he destroyed like the surrounding area behind the guy, enough to scare him to basically back down. The guy shit his pants so bad he passed out. The other guy actually got beat by Boruto, Mitsuki, and Sarada. They actually compensated for each other's weaknesses and worked together to beat him. And I really like that moment, by the way. They had a really cool shot of Konohamaru when he did his Rasengan, and then they had a really cool shot of Sarada when she takes down this other shinobi with the help of Boruto and Mitsuki. Now, what Mitsuki says, what Boruto says, and what Sarada says is pretty cool. Okay, so essentially here's how it works. Sarada doesn't have enough speed. Okay, Sarada doesn't have enough speed. Mitsuki can't use wind style as creatively as Boruto, and then Boruto can't read attacks like Sarada can. So they compensate for each other's skills or weaknesses rather in their skills, and take down the opponent pretty easily. I like that. I like the fact that they showcase the teamwork, and I really liked the element that they brought into this episode that kept Boruto from acting out on his own, which was the villagers of Green Banks. The villagers of Green Banks found out that Kitty kind of withheld information about the breach deed and what the shinobi really wanted with the breach deed, and the villagers wanted her to essentially work together, consult them to see if maybe they would have worked together to do something and prevent this from happening. So Boruto, seeing that, decided to be like, okay, you know what, maybe if I work together with my team, I can prevent, an issue from happening out of me being a lone wolf and acting out on my own. I like that element they brought in there because it made Boruto realize that you can't do it alone, and you shouldn't do it alone. Now, the thing here is that the issue gets resolved pretty quickly. Alright, it's almost as if the real issue wasn't the shinobi or them getting the breach deed. I feel like the biggest issue that they wanted to communicate here was the situation with Boruto's teamwork, and the fact that they wanted Kitty to, at the very end, be able to get closer to her own people, right? Get close enough to the own people where maybe, you know, sometimes in the late future, something like this doesn't happen, because she'll be actually able to consult with the villagers, get all of their opinions, and actually talk to them in a one-on-one manner, where they can actually kind of work together as an actual community. Because as we found out, Kitty was not trying to do that. Kitty was just trying to do everything on her own and acted hastily, and that's why things escalated to the point that they did. All right. But other than that, the episode ended on a great note. I did like how it ended. The next week's episode is gonna be a little bit boring in my opinion. I think a lot of you guys are gonna agree with me. Next week's episode is gonna be a little boring, just simply because of the fact that we have the situation where there's gonna be a bank robber. If you guys haven't seen the spoilers or read the synopsis for next week's episode, you know, just you can click out the video and or pause it or skip forward. But anyways, the next week's episode synopsis is the bank robber used to be some kind of worker, and he got fired unfairly from his job, and that's why he ends up robbing a bank. Now the thing is, Boruto expects this to be like a really exciting mission, but it turns out that it's not as exciting as he thought. Okay, so what that tells me is that I shouldn't be excited about the mission, because even Boruto himself is gonna get disappointed at the fact that the mission's not exciting. But you know what? I'm gonna leave it here. Okay, I can't really make these reviews much longer, just simply because of the fact that I like keeping them short. I like being able to just give you guys my thoughts and opinions, and then just ending the video. But let me know what you guys thought of the episode. What was your favorite moment? For me, it was Konohamaru's moment and Team 7's moment, where they took down the Shinobis. I really did like those two moments. Now, the arc ended, and it was pretty much said and done. We're probably not going to see Kitty ever again, but still, let me know what you guys thought. Anyways, guys, I'm out. Peace.